Sometimes coaches are great motivators, but we don't know whether they're actually a good coach. There's a big difference between, getting the most effort out of your team, but also then putting guys in a position to succeed and being able to adjust in game and all those different things that the great coaches can do. Dan Campbell's a great motivator. His team likes to play for him. They were fourth against the spread this past season in the NFL. They were 11-6 against the spread. They were really good. Now, granted, they had a lot of big numbers
Covered
that
a bunch of big
sometimes they were
numbers.
able to cover. And
Yeah, covered a bunch of
it
big
helps,
numbers.
but what it at least tells me, and it tells me this with obviously there are certain teams. We talked about this with the Thunder before too. They were great against the spread last year in the NBA. There's big numbers, I get, but there's also an effort. Like, they may not be good teams, but you're going to get effort every single game where they tend to cover just because they keep games closer than what most people expect. Dan Campbell has had people eating out of the palm of his hand since he talked about biting kneecaps. I don't know whether he's a good coach. They won 3 games last year. They're not a very talented team, but everybody's jumping on the Lions bandwagon this year. And for Lions fans, I feel for you. You deserve a team that actually wins, because I know what it's like as a Commanders fan to deal with a horrible organization that loses every single year. But I just don't think the Lions are going to be that good. I don't like them win. Like, you're saying they're going to go from a 3 to a 7-win team this year. Maybe if Jamison Williams was going to be out there all year, you have that extra playmaker. That would make a huge difference for their offense. But how far can they really go with Jared Goff? We've seen what Jared Goff is without Sean McVay. He's not that good. He's an average quarterback at best. He had his moments last year. Sure, there were some games where he looked very capable, but that's really as far as it goes with them. I'm not very confident in the Lions to the point where I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and take the over. Now, if you told me they'd win 5 or 6 games this year and they'd improve by a couple, yeah, I think that's reasonable. But let's pump the brakes on this full-on bandwagon. I'm much more comfortable taking Jacksonville over 6.5 than I am Detroit over 6.5.
Well, yeah, because you like the upside of Trevor Lawrence more than whatever
Yes,
the
I
known
do.
quantity of Jared Goff is, basically, which I think makes a bunch of
Yeah.
sense. The one thing I will say about the Lions in their favor, the one thing that Hard Knocks has in my opinion, the one thing that Hard Knocks has definitely done is that if we get to the end of the season and let's say the Lions have that not even great season, just like very good season. Say they win like 9 or 10 games, right? Something like that, which would be a massive accomplishment. Uh,
Mhm.
this group of players winning 9 or 10 games, maybe the division takes a step back. Maybe the Bears win 0 games. Maybe the Vikings are average again because Kirk Cousins is their quarterback. Maybe the Packers miss Devontae Adams, and maybe the schedule sets up in some interesting ways down the stretch that we can't anticipate. Let's say the Lions win like 10 or 11 games. The one thing that I think Hard Knocks has done is that in that situation where they have won 10 or 11 games, usually if you have a team that wins 10 or 11 games and improves, their coach is not a lock to win coach of the year because there are so many other candidates that could potentially be deserving. Other teams in other conferences that win 10 or 11 games, a number 1 seed that wins 13 or 14 games. I mean, it's the types of coaches that win coach of the year all the time. I do feel like because we've all consumed this, and to be honest, we've all consumed this and we all love Dan Campbell. And you don't think
Yeah.
AP voters, you don't think they're watching this, not loving this guy too? Can't find somebody to say a bad word about this person. And so I do think the one thing the show has done is that if it's close, let's say the Lions win 10 games and there's a team in the AFC that also improves by 7 or 8 games. Maybe it's the Jaguars. Maybe it's the Jets. Maybe it's a team like that. If there are other candidates, I feel like in tiebreaker or close situations, like the voters are going to be like, well, I know Dan Campbell because I like watched that
Yep.
show and I know he's
Yep.
awesome. I can hear him giving those speeches. So I will vote for him to win over someone with a comparable resume. Now, if the Lions win 8 games and somebody else wins 12 and improves by 9 games, they're not going to give it to Dan Campbell and not that guy. They're going to give it to whoever that guy is. But if I do feel like actually something the show maybe has done is it's basically added, like, I think we know what the tiebreaker would be in all those situations. And it's tie goes to Campbell, tie goes to Detroit. I think that's actually like a fair assessment of the culture and not the culture, but the atmosphere that the show has created where we're all rooting for this team, basically.